Well, hello everyone, it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today for a new video. Today we're going to change things up a little bit with an edge-to-edge shaker, but instead of having it go completely to the edge, we're actually going to highlight a portion of a background that we're going to make to create a unique focal point for your card. In today's video, I'm using products from Honeybee Stamps. I have this beautiful stencil set. This is the Folk Daisy set. It's a set of 4 different stencils that layer up to create a gorgeous background, and we're going to use some Pawsitively saturated inks from Simon Says Stamp to ink blend this. I'm also using a set of foil plates from Honeybee Stamps called Fall Foliage Sentiments. To help me with creating my ink blended background with these stencils, I'm going to use our Simon Says Stamp Stamp and Stencil Mat. This is super helpful because we're going to place our card into the temporary adhesive on this mat, and then we're going to layer up our stencils within the black box that is printed onto this mat. That box is 6 by 6 in size, so every time you place your layering stencil into the center of that box, you're going to know that it's perfectly positioned every single time, and every layer is positioned in the exact same placement. So that makes working with layering stencils so easy. So meanwhile, I've already ink blended the first layer, which is just some simple leaves, and I used FAIRWAY ink for that. I'm now going to reposition my second stencil into this box, and this is the stem layer. This layer I'm going to ink blend with some woodsy. It's a nice beautiful brown color that looks really good with the earthy tones of the green. For the ink blending, I'm also using Simon Says Stamp detail blending brushes and small blending brushes, which are really good for detailed stencils like this. If you're interested in any of the products that I'm using today, I do have them linked below in the video description or over on the blog, so be sure to check that out if you're curious about anything. Here are those detail blending brushes. I'm switching to these now after using the small ones for the first 2 layers. This is going to help me make sure I don't get ink where I don't want it. I'm using a variety of positively saturated colors to color in different sections of this stencil. So for instance, I colored a few of those flowers pink, added some blue to these areas that are going to be flower centers, and I also used some yellow to add some color to these daisies. Finally, I'm going to bring in our 4th layer, and this has quite a bit more of those smaller images, and they're close together, but as you can see, these detail blending brushes make it so easy to keep from getting ink in the areas that you don't want. So here I'm using Peachy for some of these smaller florals. I brought in PEONY for this nice big floral in the center, and then I used ORCHID to add some purple berries here and there throughout the background. Now that I have my background completed, I'm going to remove that 4th stencil, and we're going to bend the mat in half just to get our paper to loosen off of the mat. The mat is really sturdy, so you don't have to worry about it breaking. I'm going to ink blend around the very outermost edges of this background with Cadette ink. It's one of the colors that I used on my background, and I thought this would add some nice color to the edges and also help highlight the center of the card. It softens the colors around the edges, so that makes the center stand out even more. Okay, so I set my background aside, and I'm going to do some hot foiling for my sentiments. And I wasn't sure exactly which sentiment I wanted to use. I was tossed between thinking of you and thank you. In the end, I chose thank you, but I'm going to foil them both just so that way I can decide. I'm going to foil on white glossy cardstock with some gold foil. This white glossy cardstock from Simon Says Stamp is so good for foiling. It's the perfect paper for it. And I've just taped my foil onto my paper so it doesn't move. After running it through my die cut machine to press the foil into the paper, I'm going to go ahead and take my sentiments out and fussy cut the one that I want to use. And I chose the word thank you, so I'm going to use my fine tip scissors from Simon Says Stamp to cut this out. If you don't want a fussy cut, you could definitely just cut this down into a simple rectangle. That would look just as good. You could also die cut it into a nice shape, such as a heart or a circle. So I have my greeting ready, and I'm going to set it aside while I work on making the highlight area for my background. I'm pulling out these A2 marquee dies from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm using the second to largest die, and I'm going to tape it down onto my card. So as you can see, this is going to die cut a nice little panel out of the center of our background, and it also makes those cute little marquee dots, which I think is so much fun. I popped all those out off camera so that I have a nice clean die cut. And I've cut a piece of stamp packaging to be slightly larger than my background panel, so that way I can use this as my edge-to-edge shaker pocket. I'm putting adhesive around all 4 sides of this background panel so that way I can remove the release paper from 3 sides only to start, which will then allow me to fold the plastic into that adhesive. So I'm going to carefully go ahead and place this into the center of that plastic and then slowly bring in each side into that adhesive. We're not going to remove the release paper on that 4th edge just yet because we need a place to be able to pour our sequins into. I am cutting off any extra plastic that might be hanging off the edges to clean everything up. So here is our shaker pocket ready to go. I'm going to take a Spring Meadow mix from Simon Says Stamp and dump that inside. They're nice colors that went well with the ink blending colors that I chose. And now that I have my shaker filled, I can go ahead and remove the release paper from that last edge, fold the plastic into it, and trim everything up so that I have my sequins enclosed inside. And check out how this completes the background. Everything is seamless, but we have that super cool highlight in the center from making this edge-to-edge shaker. So I have an A2 card base from Simon Says Stamp here, and I'm going to use this as the base for my project. So I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive around 4 sides of my panel that has been cut out of. This is going to get adhered straight down onto my card. No double-sided tape for this layer because we want this one to be recessed behind the shaker. The shaker is what's going to get the foam tape. That foam tape is going to make this a little bit more dimensional and make the highlight area stand out. So I used Simon Says Stamp foam tape for this, and when I did adhere this down, I made sure that I was adhering this down in the right orientation so that everything stayed seamless. This card is so beautiful as it is. All it needed was a greeting to complete it. So I used that thank you greeting that we made earlier, and that's going to get centered down along the bottom of the card, and that's it. It's a gorgeous example of how you can change up your edge-to-edge shaker cards and create a unique highlight for your backgrounds. This background stencil design is so pretty. It's the Folk Daisy stencil set from Honeybee Stamps, and it looks so good as the focal point for my project. I hope you were inspired by today's card. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, I hope you'll give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more inspiration. Until I see you again, I hope you have a wonderful day, and thanks for stopping by.
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.